Alright, hello and welcome everyone to the final series for Maya for beginners, and this time we're gonna learn about animation. Alright, so in the first three series we already covered modeling, texturing and rigging. So in this fourth series we're gonna start off with animation. Alright, so animation in Maya is found in this tab over here. As you can see, we have different set of tools available to us. Alright, so let me just start off with creating a simple cube perhaps. Alright, just to show a very basic of how the tools in Maya works for animation. Right, so how animation works is we have this thing over here at the bottom called the timeline. Alright, and as you can see over here we have our playback and our step forward one key and step for one frame, etc, etc. Alright, we're gonna talk about all of this later on. Right, so the very basic of animation in Maya is the S key, which is to key in a keyframe. So for example, over here on frame 1, the cube is over here, so I'll key S, and then if I move along to frame 25, right, that's about a second, and I move the cube along this way, and then I press S again, and then what happens is that the cube will move from here to here in that 1 second. Alright, now over here, as you can see, once we press S, some of these things start to become salmon in color. Alright, and that is to indicate to Maya that hey, you have an animation going on over here. Right, so for you to delete this animation, for example, if you somehow made a mistake or something like that, all you can do is press and hold shift, left click and drag and highlight on this area. As you can see, if you look really closely, you have some of these yellow arrows over here. What we can do is we can kind of stretch out the time, or we can squeeze it in. Alright, and we can also simply just right click over the red area and click on delete. That's to delete away all of this information of the animation that we have. Alright, so that's the first part about animation in Maya. Let me just undo a couple of steps here. Now next thing is we'll talk about is what we have our graph editor over here. Let me just minimize this a bit. Now if I were to select our sphere, our cube again, where we had an animation over here, as you can see there is this thing called curves. Alright, now the curves basically represent whatever we have over here. Right, this side here at the bottom represents our timeline. This side over here represents the value, so it's positive value or negative value, etc, etc. So for example, if we move forward a bit here, as you can see I have a minus 7.345 over here. That's why my Z went down to a negative value. Alright, so as you can see just now I only animated the Z, so that means I only move the Z axis, and because I only move the Z axis, the graph over here follows as such, where it goes down. Alright, so I can just isolate that, translate Z, and what I can do is I can just like highlight over this area and just press F just to frame it over here, so you have a better look at how the curve is going. Now of course I only have two keyframes, one over here and one over here. Alright, so I don't have anything much to tweak, but later on when we have more keyframes, especially when we do our walk cycle and run cycle, what you notice over here is that I can actually kind of break some of these tangents, and actually if I use my middle mouse button I can click and move it around. So if let's say I don't want it to start at frame 1, I want to start at frame 0, or I want it to move further back on translate Z, I can do that over here on the graph editor as well. Alright, and what I have over here as well are how I can shape my curves of my animation. So these are actually the tangent, like the different type of tangents that we can have for our curves. Again, we'll talk about this later on. We can actually even break the tangent and we can move this around a bit better. So just to, we can't really show you over here how it looks like, because like I said, we only have two frames, but this is something for you to take note of as we move along with the lesson on animation. Alright, well, we're gonna have to use this part over here quite a bit, especially for us to smoothen our animation. Alright, now one last thing is that if you go to our window settings and preferences, right, and we go under our timeline or time slider rather, we want to make sure that our animation is changed to real time 24 frames per second. Alright, we don't want it to be play every frame. This is if we do effects animation, then we'll do this, but for now we'll leave it at real time 24 fps. Alright, so if yours is not there, please make sure you change it, and then we can save that. Alright, so that's a very quick starters, just to give you a quick intro of animation in Maya. Alright, so the next part is probably we're going to start with the walk cycle straight away. So see you in the next part. Alright, so in this part we're gonna start to create our walk cycle already. Right over here towards the back over here, I have a reference from the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. This is a reference of how a walk cycle as he draws out from frame 1 to frame 25. You can actually just Google this and you can get this online, and then basically you have to do is that you place it like an image plane, or you can just chuck a texture over there just as a reference for us to have a look within Maya, so we don't have to go back and forth to a photo viewer to see how these leg movements and stuff are working. Alright, so I put it in a layer, I chuck it in a layer, and I put a reference image over here. Right off the bat, what I want to do is first of all create like a floor layer. Alright, so that this guy has something to walk upon. Alright, maybe not too much or something like that. And what we're going to do is a walk cycle, so it's going to actually walk on the same path here. So it's just like going to, as if it's walking on a treadmill or something like that. So it's not going to actually walk forward here. That's a different type of animation. Again, I'll put this in our layers over here. Now a few things we just want to organize a bit. We just want to turn off our joints. We don't really need to see them, so all you need to mess around with are our curves, so we can turn off our IK handles as well. Alright, so first things first is right over here at the bottom, I want to change this to only 25 frames. So we're only dealing with 25 frames. Alright, similar to what we have over here. So the first thing about doing a walk cycle or doing an animation in general, I'm not gonna go too much on the theory and the super basics of bouncing balls and stuff like that. I just want to show you something that you can at least start off with, so that you'll be a bit more confident in animating in Maya, and hopefully after all of these 4 series you are able to kind of decide where you want to lean towards. Either you want to do modeling and texturing or rigging and animation, so at least you have an idea. But at least this 4 series would expose you to what you really need to do for if you want to do an animation or do a modeling project. Alright, so again, the first thing what we want to do is, going back to this project, we want to create our key poses. Alright, so that means that we just want to do these frames over here, perhaps frames 1, 13 and 25 first, where frame 1 and 25, if you realize, they're actually the same. The left foot is forward and the right foot is backward, and frame 13 is also the same, only this time they swap places. So this time the right foot is forward and the left foot is backwards. Alright, and then we can go on and do these key poses. Alright, so all of these poses that you see over here, these are what we call key poses. And then right over here where you see some of this circle where the head moves, these are the in-betweens. Alright, so let's focus on the first things first. So every time you do an animation, you want to focus on the key poses. Identify what are your key poses. Alright, so I'm just going to start to position our rig to look like this guy. Alright, so first things first, I think this floor is a bit too high. Let's bring it a bit down. Alright, so first things first, we're gonna use our left leg and we're gonna move it quite a bit, and we're gonna rotate it as such. Okay, we did not rig it for it to have like foot control where you can roll his foot, but it's okay, we'll just make it like that for now. And then we'll move the other guy. Sorry, this is supposed to be the left leg, right? Alright, so let's move this guy forward since it's the left leg, and we can tilt him up a bit. Alright, trying to do our best to kind of follow this image over here. And this one will be towards the back, and we can kind of rotate him just a bit like that. Alright, and what we can do is we can select our main hip control over here and kind of like bring him down just a bit. Alright, so something like that would work for now. Just want to position it towards the side like that. Right, so I'm just going to focus on the legs first. Alright, so once I'm happy with this, what I'm going to do is it's probably a good idea for us to keep it a whole number for now. So I'm going to keep this at 16, and this to be at minus 0.2, and this maybe is minus 0. Right, just put this like 0.1 over there. So same for this guy. Right, so maybe I'll change this to about 3, 2, and this might be minus 16.8 should be okay. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to select, let's say, the left leg first, and then we're going to go ahead and press S, and then we're going to select our right leg, and we're going to press S as well. Right, so that's frame 1. Now we're going to bring it all the way to frame 25, and we're going to press S again on the right leg and go to the left leg and press S. So like I said, frame 1 and frame 25, they are actually the same. Alright, now let's go to frame 13, where basically these two are swapping. So the values of these guys is going to be put in here, and the values of these guys is going to be put in here. Alright, because they are swapping places. Alright, so it's minus 0.1, minus 0.2, and 16. And this guy is minus 0.1, 0.3, 0.0. So it's a bit hard for you to keep note and stuff like that. So what you can do is just take a quick print screen of this and perhaps go to Paint. Alright, let's go to Paint and space this over here. And we have our numbers over here. So this is actually our left leg, so we can kind of like take note of this. Right, so what we can do is we can start to use these numbers over here and copy it to our left leg first, since we already have the left leg's numbers. So it's minus 0.1, 0, minus 0.2. So this would be, now we need to go to frame 13 first. Alright, and change this to minus 0.1. This to be 0, minus 0.2, 0, should be a minus in front here. Okay, and 16 on the rotation. So it should be 16, and the rest is the same. Right, so once our left leg is there, we can go ahead and keyframe this. But before that, let's just move this one out a bit, because you just have to make sure that, you know, I'll just change this to 0 instead. I mean, it's just confusing to make it different numbers. Let's change this to 0 and press S on frame 13, and then let's take the other guy over here, and now we need to use these numbers that we have, which is, alright, let's just change this to 0 since it's quite a close number. So change this to 0, 0, this is 0.2, so get rid of the negative, and this becomes a negative 16.8. right, and we can go ahead and keyframe that as well, frame 13. So as you can see, this is frame 1, and then it becomes frame 13, and then it goes back to where it's supposed to be. Right, so right now if I just go ahead and play this, it looks really funny, as if it's like swimming underwater or something like that. Alright, but it's okay, we can go ahead and continue with this. Alright, so moving along, we already established frame 1, 13 and 25. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at frame 7 and 19 for now. So let's focus on the left leg. That is the shaded area over here, the shaded leg. And let's look at frame 7. As you can see, the left leg is not the same as our reference over here. Yes, it's feet planted firmly on the ground. And speaking of our ground, let me just I'm just gonna bring this all the way down for now. We'll talk about the floor later on because we don't want it to distract us. So right over here at frame 7, what we can do is we can start to move our controller and rotate it as such to follow this reference that we have over here. Again, yes, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, stuff like that, because obviously this guy has a very long leg and this alien has quite a short leg. Alright, so, and also we did not go ahead and do like some part of foot control over here, but we can go ahead and adjust this kind of things later on. So what we can do over here is we can start to try our best to move this according to how we see in the image. Okay, because of this guy has a really short leg and he can't really bend all the way. Maybe we can just do it up to there would be okay for now. And I might want to look it from the side. From the side view, let me just turn off some of these joints and stuff like that, and get my X-ray out. Alright, so might wanna have like, because the knee comes out a bit and then the foot will be right over there, so that's okay for now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna change some of this number to a whole number. So this can be minus 0.1, and we can just stick this to 50 then. Alright, so over here at frame 7 we have make this a whole number and just press S. Right, so as you can see, the leg will kind of bend and moves forward to where it needs to be. So we're starting to get the animation going on. Next part is let's do the same for this leg, where instead at frame 7 he will have the same pose as the right leg at frame 19. Alright, so at frame 19 we need to have whatever this guy had in frame 7 and put it over here. Right, so again I'm gonna go to frame 7 and perhaps grab a screenshot and paste it here so that I can see these numbers over here a bit more clearly. And I'll go to frame 19 and we'll use this as reference. So it's basically 0 for the beginning, and then rotate X is 50, right, 50, and translate Z is negative 0.1. Alright, 0.1. Right, so it moves towards the back a bit. Okay, so it kind of follows what we have over here. Alright, so we can go ahead and press S over there. As you can see, if I were to just play back the animation a bit more, you can get this guy to move a bit more naturally this time. Alright, again, it's a bit of a bother to see that because he has really small thighs and shin and a super big feet. I mean, he's an alien after all, so we can give him that. That's why we aren't able to see the full effect of the leg as such, but later on what we can do is, if I just bring back my joints, we can kind of like move, rotate this part a bit and animate that a bit. Alright, again, we didn't animate this to be like something where I have an extra joint over here, because it doesn't need that. All right, one thing we need to understand that again, this is a very basic rig. If it doesn't need it, I didn't put it in, but again, we'll just perhaps use this as a rotation. So by right, we should have another joint over here where we can do like a ball control, but again, I said there was no need for that, so we left it out. Perhaps I'll do it in another series. So yeah, we'll just use this to animate, but we'll do that later on when we start to do the details of our animation. So let's turn our joints back off for now, and let's continue on. So we've got these guys done and this guy's done. Let's go to perhaps the ones on the green, which is about frame 10. Now I'll do on the left leg first. As you can see on frame 10, the right leg, the frame 10, the right leg has its foot up a bit, so we should push this up a bit more and should rotate just a bit higher like that. Right, perhaps you can go up slightly more, and we can move this slightly to the back. Alright, and again, I'll try to make this a bit of a whole number, so this will be about maybe 7. I'll just change this to 30.8, and then we're here at frame 10. Going to go and press the keyframe, press S, and I will look at frame 22 where it's the same. Basically, whatever we have over here is going to be transferred over to the other side. So let me just do a quick print screen again, and we'll paste this over here. So this is the values that we want for the other leg. So we'll take the other leg, alright, and this time we'll go to frame 22. Right, also see what we have over here. So 0, 0 0.9, 0, 0.09. Right, translate Z 0.07, and this guy is 30.8. Alright. Okay, so once you have that numbers, you can press S to keyframe it, and then we'll start to see how it looks like over here. So it looks a bit more like he's walking. Of course, we kind of need to adjust this as well, his belly or hip, so that we can have a bit of a stretching effect over here. So let's just play this one now and see what we have. Alright, it's not too bad, it's a good start for now. Of course, there's some fidgeting that we see over here, especially on this point here, and it suddenly becomes like that. We need to go and fix those areas. So let's continue on with this. So we've done frame 1, 7, 19 and 22. Let's focus on frame 4, 13 and 16 next.